Castaldini? Sorry, Mitchell, I didn't mean to mispronounce your name there, but they're both playing Bant Nexus, and they're going to play it at a slightly accelerated pace here for our time-shifted match. Both players just leading with lands, establishing their mana. See Jonathan Rosum play an untapped land, take a little damage, probably looking to Growth Spiral, and there we are, Growth Spiral on the battlefield. One of our new Ravnica Allegiance cards.
Love that card, absolutely. I think it really helps these decks a lot, both by giving you extra velocity and an acceleration tool.
I think you're spot on, an incredibly important ad. And there we see our first Wilderness Reclamation of the tournament. And Jonathan Rosum wasting no time in using the mana effectively, using his untapped phase to play an additional Chemist's Insight, following up with another Wilderness Reclamation. There's a lot of mana being established very quickly. More Chemist's Insights. Who knows what Rosum's doing here? Jerry, you have thoughts on what we're seeing in front of us?
It looked like first Reclamation trigger was untap, cast Chemist's Insight, float a mana.
Right.
Untap again, cast Growth Spiral, put another land onto the battlefield, and just Rosum going off.
Yeah, tremendous amounts of mana available to Jonathan Rosum right now. And it looks like he's looking to take advantage with a Dawn of Hope?
Yeah, Dawn of Hope is actually in both players' deck lists. It is effectively their win condition. I mean, you could win the game in theory by just taking all the turns to ferrying all of your opponent's permanents, but in real life and on Magic Online, I would imagine because of the chess clock, you do need an actual win condition, and Dawn of Hope is one that scales really well with Wilderness Reclamation.
Of course. I've actually been using Dawn of Hope to great effect in my Bant control decks for this purpose. You know, the cards it generates, the life gain it generates, the just win condition it generates, all of these things very important for the Bant Nexus deck. Rosum, with access to an incredible amount of mana, will be able to leverage that as these turns go on. Also has been joined by a search for Escanta on his side of the battlefield. This game quickly spiraling out of control for Mitchell.
Rosum just has double the amount of permanents Mitchell has. Had Growth Spiral into Reclamation, which was effectively free because he got to use his 4 mana to use on a Chemist's Insight. Next turn, another Reclamation, and Rosum exploded. Yeah,
Mitchell doing a little bit of fogging on his side of the battlefield. I think he's just stemming the tides here. This game's about mana advantage. Oh, we have just been told we've actually had the names crossed up this entire time. Jerry, that means your favorite player, Jonathan Rosum, has been taking the beating this entire time. And it is Mitchell who has exploded onto the battlefield and has set up a dominating board presence.
I have a new favorite player. It is Mitchell.
Great.
Look how great Mitchell's deck looks.
Yeah, Mitchell has absolutely crushed it. Become Jerry Thompson's favorite Magic player in just the span of one round. Very impressive stuff from Mitchell here. And reaping the benefits of Wilderness Reclamation in spades. Hearing word that Cedric Phillips is responsible for the mix-up. So
not surprised.
Send ire his way. I'm sure he appreciates it.
He's new to the scene, folks.
That's true. He's never done this before.
Him.
Right. Take it easy on Cedric, everyone. Give him a pass. He'll get used to it as time goes on. So we see Rosum continuing to fog here, trying to just stem the tide. I think he's fighting a losing battle, and Rosum agrees he's going to pick up his cards here. And we're going to head on to Game 2 as the player's sideboard. So, Jerry, a very explosive example of what these decks are capable of there.
Yeah, it felt like Mitchell was playing the actual Turbo Fog deck, and Rosum was playing something that was not it. You know, just any sort of random mid-ranger control deck, and that's kind of what happens in these matchups, at least in Game 1 specifically.
Right, very snowbally. So we're back here. We have Jonathan Rosum leading with a Growth Spiral this time. Rosum on the right, Mitchell on the left. Mitchell looking to respond with his own Growth Spiral. Players just establishing mana, drawing cards. A lot of, you know, setup in the first few turns of this matchup.
Yeah, just a lot of posturing, trying to... Game 1, you can kind of just do whatever. Like, if you want to jam a Wilderness Reclamation, you can. But the sideboard games specifically are like, all right, they might have counter spells. If I tap out here, they could land it to Fairy. That's kind of scary. So you're going to see a lot more setup generally.
Right, both players still just continuing to establish their mana via Growth Spiral. Chemist's Insight, drawing cards, exactly what you would expect in these early stages. We're going to get to a haymaker stage of this game at some point. These players, with their access to their sideboards, they now have Hydroid Crassus. They have Knight of Autumns to deal with opposing Wilderness Reclamations. There's going to be big spells flying back and forth at the later stages of this game.
Yeah, possible Carnage Tyrants too, although it doesn't look like either of these players have them, but that's another potential thing where it's like you could just jam that once you get to 6 mana. But Hydrate Grass is kind of the same thing, maybe a little bit better now.
Right, and some important cards hitting the battlefield. Over on Jonathan Rosum's side, you see both Searcher Azcanta as well as an Arch of Orzaka. Incredibly important cards in these Bant Nexus decks. I was actually talking with Jonathan before the tournament started, and we kind of agreed on just how important having access to Arches. You're really able to accentuate those Wilderness Reclamation turns and go off twice as hard, find your next Nexus of Fate, and chain into your endgame when you have Arch in play.
Yeah, and Rosum even added a second copy.
Right, saying mana cost be damned. And we're seeing a counter fight here. It looks like we were fighting over
a Nexus.
Yes.
Nexus in the end step got hit with a negate, but Mitchell was able to force it through with a Spell Pierce.
So we're going to have 2 turns in a row for Mitchell here, who now has Teferi and Wilderness Reclamation in play. This could be a big set of turns. Mitchell untapping. Does he have something in his end step? Looks like another Nexus of Fate.
Telling you, Mitchell, my new favorite player.
This is a dangerous spot for Jonathan Rosum. He may not be getting the turn back. Let's see what happens here.
I mean, even if he does get the turn back, he's going to be so far behind.
Correct.
I'm surprised that Rosum hasn't dropped like the F6 piece of paper into play and just walked away.
It would be appropriate here. So we see another Chemister's Insight.
Getting a little taste of his own medicine.
Another Chemister's Insight. Are we going to be able to find a Nexus of Fate and chain this turn? Let's see. Still access to more mana. See a Growth Spiral. Looks like in Mitchell's end step now. Has a land to play with it. And he's going to pass the turn back. Jonathan Rosum getting a chance here.
Handful of negates and Spell Pierces, though. Teferi on the battlefield. How much chance does he really have?
All he wants is a chance. Jonathan Rosum's a fighter. He's not going to give up easy. He's going to look for his outs, and they may be slim at this point, but let's see what Jonathan has on his side.
I mean, first things first, I think you have to get rid of Teferi, and I don't know how easy that is actually going to be.
Well, we do see Wilderness Reclamation enter the battlefield here. We're going to fight over it. Negate. Negate from Rosum, and negate back from Mitchell. And Wilderness Reclamation hits the graveyard. No Reclamation for Jonathan Rosum today.
Yeah, so Mitchell keeping the all-important mana advantage. He also has the draw engine advantage.
Yep. And
still a secret little Spell Pierce on backup, just in case Rosum gets up to anything.
Yeah, we'll see if he can find a spot for value for that. This may be it, honestly. And it looks like Jonathan Rosum has seen enough. He's extended the hand with a Search for Azcanta entering the battlefield. So, Will, considering his options,
that was
already
facing
a substantial
by
board
your
from
new
Andrew.
favorite player.
And his play is
Mitchell.
Wild
I can't pronounce
Walker,
your last
perhaps
name.
A turn late.
A huge Mitchell Castaldini fan over here in Jerry Thompson. I'm a huge fan of Nexuses. There we got to see the deck do its thing, admittedly very quickly. That was a tough match to follow in the time-shifted realm.
Every bad